Within the orc culture, there exists the painboys. The chief passion of a painboy, also known as a doc, is surgery and extreme dentistry. The latter is often carried out during the former, as the extracted teeth pay for the extraordinary fees leveled at the customer. While the patient is safely strapped down, mouth wedged open, and internal organs exposed, he's not really in any position to argue. Painboys learn their craft through a mixture of instinct, trial and error, and the time-honored principle of orky know-whats. Their greatest joy in life is experimenting, a mindset that carries a lot of common ground with mechs. In many ways, painboys are the mechs of the greenskin's physique, in that they repair, maintain, and even improve upon the orc body itself. Orcs must be wary when hiring a painboy. For instance, if an orc suffering from a nasty case of a severed limb risks employing a doc to graft a replacement, he might end up with a local mech's cutting-edge inventions. This can be distressing for the owner of, for instance, a Rugot Mark III exploding leg, especially if it was his arm that needed attention in the first place. Painboys truly relish the implantation of bionics produced by mechs, and the professionals occasionally work together to create cyborgs. These are unstable fusions of greenskin and machine that range from orcs who have had damaged limbs replaced with wiring blades or tacks, to fully bionic boys who are more machine than orc. When this tribe is caught up in a wall, the battle raging and the wounded lying thick on the ground, a painboy truly comes into his own. This is a truly happy time for a doc. Never do they have a better opportunity to hone their skills, patching up the orcs in their care, and giving them a quick shot from a rusty syringe to get them back in the fray. Needless to say, times of war are extremely lucrative for painboys. Many only follow the richest orcs into battle, hoping their charges become grievously wounded, enough to require their service. Of course, painboys in battle aren't about to let the rest of the lads have all the fun, and will cheerfully pile into hand-to-hand combat. There they will apply their knowledge, along with an array of surgical saws and blood-encrusted scalpels, to the task of vigorously dismembering the foe. Motorized separators are thrusted into open wounds, tearing them wide and allowing the leering painboy to harvest a choice of squishy bits from within their screaming victims. Fungal serums surge through the veins of luckless enemies until their bloods congeal with spores. Clanking syringe-festooned power claws creak open and shut as the painboys fix their beady eyes upon the hapless foe, knowing that soon enough their blades will be slicing through flesh, bone, and tendons. Grot orderlies descend upon the wounded, beady eyes and skinning tools glinting as they set to work. Anyone who has seen a painboy wade through the enemy ranks, leaving red ruins in their wake, knows that the orc surgeons have little understanding of and even less interest in the notion of the sanctity of life. These practitioners of indiscriminate surgery are never quite right in the head. They do not use anesthetics, preferring to know that their patient is still alive and kicking. Painboys burrow enthusiastically into their customers, using oversized surgical implements. Sadistic glee with which they do so is particularly off-putting, especially for the patient. Still, such is the usefulness of the painboy that such eccentricities are often overlooked, especially if the war boss is a proud owner of a shiny new bionic limb. Unfortunately for some orcs, the sadisticness of a painboy is nothing compared to that of a bad doc. A bad doc is an orc outcast, often found practicing his dubious arts within freebooter war bands. Among such company, no questions are asked, and a bad doc's past is his own business. Besides, freebooters are just mean and desperate enough to accept the surgical aid of any odd boy who offers it, even if the risks are considerable. Bad docs practice deranged and disturbing surgeries upon their prey. Their patients can find themselves in possession of a set of mechanical lungs, sporting an extra head or limb, and even victims of the dreaded squig brain transplant. Though bad docs never ask for payment, the price seeking them is high. One of the most famous painboys in orc culture is Mad Doc Gratznik. Gratznik always had a morbid fascination with rooting around in other people's heads. When the ugly goth called Gotskul stumbled into Gratznik's medical tent, holding his brain in place with both hands, the doc saw a great opportunity. 2 hours later, Gotskul staggered out again, this time clutching a skull of shiny adamantium. Gotskul's rise to Grand Warlord took less than a week. Suddenly extremely popular, Gratznik looked at the mob of orcs waiting outside his tent and saw another great opportunity. He'd convinced the richest knobs of his tribe that they too should have a Gotskul special. What Gratznik didn't tell them was that each cranium contained a portion of high explosives, and that he had a remote trigger hidden away for each of them. The work kept rolling in, and if a knob with a metal cranium offended Gratznik, later that day, he would come down with a nasty case of exploding head. Eventually, the knobs figured out what was happening. Realizing they could not tackle Gratznik face to face, they organized a little accident for him. Gratznik was called out to take a look at the wiring of a faulty death dread, but he was in for a nasty surprise. Grabbing Gratznik with a pincer, the dread held him down in the dirt and used his massive circular saw to cut open the dog's head before stomping off into the distance. As Gratznik's Gretchen orderlies looked down upon their dying master, they too saw a great opportunity. They dragged the dog all the way back to the medical tent, and soon the sounds of bone saw, hammers, and drills began to drift across the sleeping camp. During that long night, one of the Gretchen lost his lunch while elbows deep in Gratznik's brain. The other lost a pet spider that scurried into the warmest, softest place it could find, the doc's hinged open head. Gratznik died several times that night, but he was brought back to life by an inventively applied grot prod. In the small hours of the morning, Gratznik staggered out of the tent, clutching his new metal skull plate, alive but quite mad. Filled with manic glee, the doc danced and sang in the moonlight, grisly explosions playing counterpoint to his operatic efforts as he triggered the knob's explosive craniums, one by one. Since that day, Gratznik's taste in surgery has become even more bizarre. He has cut off several of his own limbs, replacing them with the grafts from customers who have been overcome with generosity while out cold on the slab. He has lobotomized a fair number of the brave and foolish coming into his tent, only to replace their brains with live squigs. It is even rumored that he is building his own composite super orc out of organs and the body parts donated by his customers. Many believe that without Gatskul's patronage, the doc would have been properly killed long ago, but the fact remains that the doc is as tough as nails, and a fearsome fighter to boot. Gratznik long ago grasped that staying in Gatskul's good book was his ticket to glory. When Gork and Mork called the Grand Warlord away from Armageddon for greater things, Gratznik went along for the ride. As Gatskul subjugates rival warlords and adds his forces to his own, Gratznik picks over the casualties and takes the best of the defeated knobs for his own projects. Gratznik even bullies rival painboys into working for him as orderlies, much to their chagrin. Most of these press gang painboys vanish altogether when the doc tires of their grumbling, and rumors persist of Gratznik's ghoulish brain bot, in which he supposedly preserves the accumulated know-whats of his failed orderlies for later reference. Doc Gratznik may have spent many years in the company of Goths, but he has always been a death skull at heart. Of late, he has returned to his roots by gathering a warband of death skulls, painboys, and freebooters, and setting out to harvest not scrap metal, but corpses from the battlefield. His corpse looters typically prefer to get stuck in and generate a solid body count before picking over the dead and wounded, and dragging away all those that catch Gratznik's eye. His warband boasts many cyborgs, along with biologically customized monsters that Gratznik has taken to calling the Stitch Boys. With kill saw screamings and syringe flashings, the corpse looters rampage from one battlefield to the next, cannibalizing everything in sight, and packing their meat wagons with raw material for Doc Gratznik's horrible experiments. Gatskul knows of Mad Doc's projects, and the growing resentment for them amongst his subservient war bosses, yet he has taken no action to curb Gratznik's enthusiasm. For many, this raises the question of what precisely the doc is working on for his master, and what manner of horrors may be revealed when Gratznik finally considers his final project to be complete. And those were 40 facts on the Painboys. Thank you guys so much for everything, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.